Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Steph, and if you're new here, I'm Steph. So I have been lamenting about the fact that I have been in and out of a reading slump for the last like 2 months. The thing is I'm still reading, but I'm not finishing anything. So I'm gonna change that this weekend. I'm doing a 24-hour readathon. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. and I'm gonna get myself mentally prepared for being up at 5:30 a.m. and I'm gonna spend the whole day reading. I'm just gonna read. I'm gonna try to finish things. I'm going to solely focus on reading. I'll probably clean my house too, you know, like eat some food, eat some lunch, but I'm gonna try to focus solely on reading. So I decided to ask my patrons to vote on some emojis that relate to books that I wanted to read for this readathon. And the book in first place that I will be reading for this readathon is One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I don't know a whole lot about this, but I do believe it is a fantasy romance about witches. I do think it is a true enemies to lovers, so I'm really looking forward to that. I've seen such great reviews about this. This is also the author of the Atlas 6, which I did enjoy. Wasn't my favorite, but I didn't hate it, and I really liked her writing style. So I'm hoping that this one is a fun and fast read for the most part. I mean, I know it's pretty chunky, but I think it'll be fun. So hopefully this will kickstart my reading again, and if not, I think all hope is lost for me. But we're not giving up yet. Good morning, beautiful friends. Welcome to the 24-hour readathon. It is 7:30. Actually, I think it's closer to 8. And I really want to walk to Starbucks, but I think it's going to be too hot. So I have a different plan in mind. So basically, you're probably asking yourself, when did you wake up? What have you been reading? What are you doing? What are you making of this 24-hour readathon? And to that I say, I've been reading One for My Enemy. In theory, I woke up at 5:30 because I was kind of just sitting there at 5:30 staring off at the ceiling, wondering why did I get up at 5:30? And it took me a half an hour to just be human again. So at 6, I started reading, and I'm now 125 pages into One for My Enemy. And here's the thing. I'm already obsessed with it, okay? I'm already loving it. One of my patrons, Aden, actually was reading this and was screaming about it, was putting it on everybody's TBR. He had an agenda to get everybody to read it. So I was like, this is kind of the perfect time because he kept saying that the pages sort of read themselves. And I have had not a horrible reading year. I wouldn't say that. I do feel like I've given out a lot of 4s. I feel like I've given out more 4s than anything else, but I haven't had an amazing reading year. I haven't had a lot of 5 stars. I haven't had a lot of books that I think are going to be new favorites. I don't even really know what I'm going to be putting on my top 10 of the year at this point. If we were to do it right now, I would really struggle to put 10 books in my top 10 of 2023. So I'm just so excited that this captivated me. So much so that I think I'm gonna drive to my favorite coffee shop, get a matcha, and then pop on over to the Barnes & Noble and buy a copy. So it's safe to say things are going well. And honestly, I know the point of a 24-hour readathon is like, read as much as you can. But for me right now, it's just getting me excited about reading again, and if this is the only thing I read, I've accomplished that. Even if this ends up being a dud in the end, which I have a hard time believing, this would still accomplish my goal of making me excited about reading again, because I am feeling really excited and really invigorated about reading again. We are going to order some coffee so that I don't have to go into the coffee shop, and then we are going to go to Barnes & Noble really quickly. I'm so excited. Hello, it's hot and I look like a gremlin right now, but I've acquired the goods and I got a large one today. I got a big boy. All right, so it's time to go to Barnes & Noble, and I'm so excited. I'm laser focusing in. I can't buy anything else. I don't really need to buy anything else. Every bookworm ever said going into a store and then comes out with a million things, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hello besties, I'm back from my excursion. It is hot. It's hot. End of sentence. It's hot. So it was disgusting, but it was well worth it because isn't she pretty? So while I was out, I did get a chance to read a little bit more. I've been listening to the audiobook and I'm now on page 175. I'm still loving it. The plot has thickened. It has thickened. Something happened that I did not expect to happen. So this is another reason why I'm really liking this, because it's taking twists and turns that I didn't really see coming. So essentially this is following two rival witch families in New York City, and they both have businesses that may or may not be criminal in nature. And so they're sort of at odds with one another. So you have the Antonova family, which is a family of all women, and there are 7 sisters. So Mariah, obviously being the oldest, is the one that's being trained in what to do in this empire, how to take over if the need arises, and taking full responsibility of her family and their legacy. Whereas Sasha, she's the youngest, she's in college, and so she's focused on school. So then you have the Fedorov brothers, and they are the rival witch clan. There are 3 brothers, and obviously same situation is kind of happening with them, where the older 2 are being trained to kind of take over the empire whenever the need arises. But the part about this book that's so compelling is it's basically like a Romeo and Juliet retelling, in the sense that there are actually 2 pairs of what I would call star-crossed lovers. So Dimitri, the older brother, is actually in love with Mariah, and at a point in time they had sort of a relationship of sorts when they were younger, and then there was a falling out. But you still can kind of see and feel from the very beginning that they have sort of a longing for one another. They kind of feel like it was a missed opportunity between the 2 of them. And then you have Lev and Sasha, who meet by circumstance. They literally bump into each other, have this palpable chemistry, and Lev realizes who she is and is really afraid to tell her because he thinks that it will ruin everything. But to him, he doesn't really care about family names. Like, so far as we know, he's not trying to get in good with her just to get family secrets. He genuinely really likes her and wants to be around her. And you see at the very start of the book that there's already some bad blood brewing between them. It seems as if they had lived in peace for a time, and now one of the brothers crossed their family and there's some bad blood. I wasn't sure if this would be good for a readathon, but because of how fast-paced and how short the chapters are, you just want to keep reading. And I just love that. I love that I'm having such a good time right now. And if I come back to you, I swear to God, if I come back to you and I don't end up giving this 5 stars, I mean, I'll even settle on a 4 stars. I will be so sad. I'll give up reading. I'll retire.
$100 and champagne for the trouble. It's a t-shirt in the backseat of your car. Head down just like your father taught you. Stick around when the walls start to fall. Good God, has anybody noticed you? Sat at the table and you listened to her scream. I know we've had a few too many. I'm not sure what to believe. Beauty queens and rock and rollers.
You're witnessing my spirit leave my body. Because what the fuck?
It's nice to know you. Better have listened to all that they told you.
So it's 7:30 p.m. I have finished One for My Enemy. I ended up finishing this right after sprints ended. I had like 20 minutes left of the audiobook, but we had game night tonight. So I had some reading sprints and then we had game night. So there was like about an hour and a half of me not reading at all. But regardless, I finished a book, and that literally was the entire goal of this readathon and just to like kickstart my reading again. And I really think that it did that. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Now, it didn't end up being the 5-star that I wanted it to be. I think it's a little bit too long, and if it would have been maybe like a 300-page book, this would have probably been perfect. Like, it could have been a 5 stars, but honestly, it's a strong 4-star. It's definitely redeemed my experience with the Atlas 6 because I thought the Atlas 6 was gonna be like an all-time new favorite, and it just wasn't. But this, I can see myself rereading. I can see myself recommending this to my romance fantasy girlies who definitely love revenge stories. If you love women getting revenge, you might love this, but I especially think that if you are a huge fan of Romeo and Juliet, then you should pick this up. If you are not a huge fan of Romeo and Juliet, you should not pick this up. There was something so charming about the way that this was written. And what I mean by that is you're getting many perspectives of this story, and some of it goes into the past with decisions that characters have made. So basically we will go in the past and she will tell us about a decision that a character made in that moment, and seeing all of those seeds that were planted along the way that ended up in this ultimate betrayal. So you are seeing things from all different perspectives and people's circumstances that have led them to make specific decisions, and how these families have been so intertwined for generations and kind of in love with each other but in hate with each other. And there is so much history between these two families, and I just loved it. The writing style worked very well for this particular story, and I enjoyed our characters. I do think a few of the characters in here read a lot younger than they're supposed to be, but that didn't really contribute to my rating as much because I wasn't bothered by the characters. I actually really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed the pining in here. There is so much mutual pining in here, and if you know me and my romance taste, I love pining. I love slow burn and I love pining. That is like my bread and butter. It's usually what makes me love a romance, is the pining, the slow burn, the will they, won't they. And yeah, they may think that they hate each other, but in reality, they're actually pining for each other secretly. They're secretly very much in love. I love that shit. I also really loved the witchcraft in here. I can complain about a couple things in regards to convenience and the witchcraft, but it was another thing that I was able to look past. But I can see that being something that might bother readers. But for the most part, I really did like the witchcraft in here, and I liked how they utilized magic, and there were like inklings of different magical races living in the world as well, and we get to kind of see that, and I enjoyed that aspect. But I do think that there are parts of this magic system that may lean a little bit on convenience, and that might bother people. Highly enjoyed this. Definitely got me out of my reading slump, hopefully, fingers crossed. But it also really put me in a fantasy romance mood, and I know that I have the other Olivia Blake to read, but I'm not quite sure if that's what I want to start. But overall, I'm just excited that I finally finished a book. I will come back in a little while and give you an update on whatever I start reading. Hello, friends. I am so tired. It genuinely feels like it's 1 in the morning right now. So things have taken a little bit of a turn, only because I do feel so tired, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay up as late as I anticipated because I'm old and I like to go to bed fairly early. But I'm not worried about it. I'm not like trying to force myself to read a million trillion things. My whole point of this delirious update is that I'm going to try to read a novella tonight. I'm going to try to read All Systems Red because I have been wanting to start the Murderbot Diaries forever, and Hanan and Jared both talk about it all the time, and they both think that I would really like it. I don't actually know if they think I would like it or they just really desperately want me to like it. Either way, I'm gonna start it today because the audiobook is like 1 hour and 18 minutes, and I feel like that's what I need before I fall asleep. I feel like I have about 1 hour and 18 minutes left in me. So anyway, I'm gonna go start the Murderbot Diaries. Hopefully I will finish it tonight. If not, first thing I do in the morning, and I will speak to you in the morning about the Murderbot Diaries.
Had this conversation more than 10 times. After 9, I still wish you were mine. Haven't ate in 7 days, 'cause I've been up till 6 a.m. promise I would. Even though you wouldn't do the same, I'd give you the world like I promised I would. Even though you wouldn't do the same. I'd do anything you want me to, 'cause I love you.
Okay, not to be dramatic is about to be dramatic, but the Barbie movie probably changed my life. How long? How long has it been since I've loved a movie like this? It is so rare that I go to the movies and want to go back to see the same movie. Like, I would go spend money to go watch this movie again. I laughed and I cried and I cried and I laughed. I think I'm about to get emotional about this, but as somebody who identifies as a woman and I'm gonna have a birthday soon, aging is really weird. It's so weird. It's so weird that like it feels awkward to tell people your age sometimes, and it feels awkward to be in your 30s or close to your 30s and like people being shocked by your age and like being shocked that you look so good for your age, as if you turn 30 and suddenly you're decrepit. You're just old and decrepit, and like the moment you turn 30 you're no longer relevant. This movie just felt really validating in so many ways that I'm not gonna be able to get into it because apparently it makes me emotional and I already look disheveled. Okay, so anyway, that being said, I did actually read 2 books, kind of. I finished one and then I started a reread because apparently I was just really in the mood to reread something, and the reread has been going really well. Last night I mentioned I was going to start the Murderbot Diaries, and I gave this 3 stars. I really love Murderbot as a character. I really related to his interactions with humans and his feelings on not caring just wanting to watch TV and like enjoy his own entertainment without the interference of humans. And he very much doesn't want to get involved in human affairs, but somehow continuously is involved in human affairs just because of what he is. Basically, Murderbot is a security android, so whenever people are trying to explore space, he is assigned to different space missions to be their security to make sure that everything is safe. But he happens to be on this specific mission where they realize that a neighboring mission ends up going dark and they can't get in contact with them, so they decide to explore what is going on. With this first one, I did really enjoy it, but I felt like I didn't care that much about the plot, so I ended up giving it 3 stars. I'm definitely going to move on. I have high hopes that the rest of the series are books that I will love, especially because people say new characters join the group and it's more sarcastic, bantery type of scenarios, and I really love that in books, so I have a good feeling that I will really enjoy the rest. And I didn't dislike this one. It's like 3.5. I'm more leaning towards a 3. And then I started my reread of A Darker Shade of Magic. I don't know what pulled me towards this. I was gonna start Masters of Death, which is the other Olivia Blake book that I talked about in the beginning. And I did start the audiobook last night, and I realized that I just couldn't listen to another audiobook. I just was not in the mood to sit and listen to another however many hours of an audiobook like I did with One for My Enemy. So I decided to try to pick up something physically, and I tend to really vibe with V.E. Schwab's writing physically more than I do on audiobook. And honestly, I've been asking myself if I wanted to reread this series before the new one came out. And I wasn't even that excited about the new release, if I'm honest with you. Like, I enjoyed this trilogy. I think that the first one for me was the weakest, and then the following 2 progressively got better. And I still stand by the fact that I think that this has a really great series finale. We'll find out soon if I still think that, because I am rereading these and I'm really enjoying my reread. I mean, I am enjoying this 10 times more than I even remember liking this first book, and reading it physically, I got through 100 pages so quickly, which is not common for me right now. I've been having a lot of problems with focusing So when I read physically, it usually takes me a lot longer more recently just because of my focus. I don't know, I was laser focused on this book. So it's safe to say that the reread is going well. So I always have trouble describing this book, but basically there's a main character named Chele. He has this really cool coat. That's like one of the major things in here is he has this really cool coat with a lot of different pockets, but he is considered a red traveler. So he has magic and he can travel to these different Londons. And there are 4 Londons. There's Black London, which I believe is forbidden. There's White London, which still has some magic, but most of the magic has been bled out of that London. Then there's Grey London, which is supposed to be very similar to our world. There's no magic. And then there's Red London, which has all of the magic. It's very abundant in magic. And so Chele is from Red London. He can travel to these different Londons, and he is kind of a messenger for the king. And then you have Lila Bard, who is our secondary main character, and she is a wanted criminal, but ultimately she just wants to be free. She really wants to sail a ship and be free from her life and the poverty in which she finds herself in. And so she is an adventurer. She just wants to be on an adventure. And Chele and Lila have an unlikely situation that brings them together, and their story is going to unfold from there. I'm really excited to be rereading this again because my memories of this feel so different than what I'm experiencing in my reread. So I'm happy to be giving this another chance, and it's making me progressively more excited for the new release. That all being said, I finished 2 books and I got a pretty good chunk into A Darker Shade of Magic. Also, I love this color palette. It's all red, white, and black. But I'm pretty pleased by this, especially because I definitely am now in the reading mood. Thank you so much for spending this 24 hours with me. I definitely want to try to do these more often because it gets me motivated. And if you've made it this far and you have nothing else to say, feel free to leave a robot in the comments below. And I will talk to you next time. Bye!